Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another Sharp Angle Syndicate production, the Sharp Angle Show. Tonight, it's Smitty's big College World Series betting show. Everything you want to know about betting. Omaha, the road now has finally gotten us there. We've got the 8 teams. It took late into the night on Monday night to get it finally set up. The weirdness of Palo Alto and Sunken Diamond and the Potfly lost in the gloaming, and then Tennessee just going and going and going and going. And now they get to see another team from the SEC. All right, I'm just Ryan Hyatt. Think of me as the bullpen catcher today. He is Smitty Bucks, home of the best bet, notebook wagering, the world famous podcast. Now, Smitty, how are we doing this beautiful Road to Omaha week?
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited. This is a great time of the year, especially if you're a college baseball fan. And again, one of our guys on Notebook Wagering is flying out there. He gets out there Friday really early in the morning. He catches the 2 games on Friday and then the 2 games on Saturday. So he's excited to do that. And he's a Florida guy, so he's pumped up for it.
Yeah, he was all geeked up, taking his wife down there. No, I'm sorry, there to the with the Charlottesville region.
Charlottesville, yep.
Yeah, down there, Charlottesville region. But yeah, he's been on Florida, has been on Florida for many months, has quite a few futures. Got in early, and I mean, we can even hit the ground running right now. Smith, I was shocked to see Florida still plus 415 even this morning. This is a real chalky, I think, final 8. We visited with Jeff Haxton earlier today. A great video you can see on our site for subscribers. He's the voice of Texas Tech baseball. He saw 3 of the teams that are there in Omaha this year firsthand. He was a longtime voice of Oral Roberts. Anyways, he echoed the same thing. This is really chalky. I think to be able to get a team like Florida is a steal right now at 415 going in.
Yeah, absolutely. I got them on a couple weeks ago. A little pizza money, like $10 to win like 100 for the national championship a couple weeks ago. I jumped on that. So I have 2 futures right now. I have Florida's 1 and I have Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, was, throw a little pizza money on it, and it was a good amount of money on them. So we'll see what happens. Florida, like you said, though, I mean, they're playing so well right now. I think they've won like 5 in a row. This is a team that they won it, I think, in 2017. And they have, this is the first time they've been out there since 2018. But I mean, their pitching has just been fantastic. That's what's really got them there. I saw a great stat, in 7 games in the postseason right now, they have like a 1.60 ERA. I mean, their ERA, their starter, it's just insane right now. Like 45 innings, 53 Ks. They have 3 guys that can really pitch extremely well. And the one guy is just on fire right now. And then their bullpen, they have a great closer. Their bullpen, and I've said it on our show a couple of times that watching them in the season, I was a little iffy about their bullpen. But, man, they've really figured out this bullpen. And they're just a complete team. I mean, Langford's such a great bat. They got guys that can hit.
Four major leaguers in the offensive lineup for them. Caglione is one of the best. He may not be the best on the team. And that's just how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, power bat. Every time he's up and Langford's up, the ball could be going out of the ballpark.
We'll get to Wake Forest here in a little bit, but you mentioning the pitching and the starting pitching allows us to talk about this format for folks. If you're new to betting the College World Series or college baseball, this is one of the most interesting ways to decide a championship. It starts off in the NCAA tournament with the regional round, which is a 14 double elimination that these teams obviously have gone through. But that's played over the course of just a couple of days. It's very compressed, no days off. Then you go to the best 2 of 3 super regionals. We just completed that. So we come to Omaha. Now we've got, again, 2 brackets, 4 teams each, double elimination. But they build in off days, which is very different from the way the regionals were run 2 weeks ago. So you'll play Friday. You're off Saturday. You're back Sunday. This really stretches out pitching, and particularly some bullpen pitching. You mentioned Florida's bullpen that really shined. This helps bring a guy like Slater that you can pitch him, and we saw him go back-to-back days in the regional, back-to-back days in the super regional, upwards of 50 pitches. And I'm using him as an example. Other teams can do this, but you can bring your guy in on Friday, have him throw an inning or 2, and you get all day Saturday off and not come back again until Sunday late because you're playing in the winners the winner's slot there. The setup really, Smitty, helps these teams that have proven pitching because of the breaks, and we'll get to it. This park is where offense goes to die.
Yeah, we were saying off air, there's a lot of teams that can hit a lot of home runs. And I mean, that can still happen. I'm not trying. And let me go. I'm going to say what I'm going to say here. Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a team that hits a lot of home runs. A lot of people have said, oh, it's, the wind's blown out this past weekend and it's a smaller ballpark. And again, listen, I'm not taking anything away from those guys. Those guys can really mash the baseball and they can score a lot of runs. And I got some stats, which I'll throw out here in a little bit. But this is a place, like Ryan just said, that could you see some unders in this? Because again,
100%.
Yeah, some of these teams, there's some arms in this. I mean, you watch if you've been watching college baseball and gambling college baseball, I've been really critical with some bullpens and everything like that. But like you said, you can really stretch these guys out a little bit. And can you really get guys that, could it go down? So keep an eye on the totals. Maybe try to jump. Maybe it could be early, like the first couple games that maybe they won't know how to adjust to maybe keep an eye on that.
Get up every day and check your weather app for Omaha and get the downtown Omaha location. Here's the difference. A little word to the wise. So TD Ameritrade is set down downtown in a crater, basically. It's Council Bluffs is off to the north. You're down in a riverbed. The airflow is non-existent. There is no prevailing wind because there's no wind down there. It's hot. It's humid. You're in the temps in the 90s, humidity in the 85%. The ball just doesn't carry. They moved the fences in a few years ago. Creighton plays there normally. The minor league team there, the Omaha Storm Chasers, they don't even play there. They play up in Ralston in a smaller, more hitter-friendly park. Long story short, look at that weather. See how hot and humid it's going to be. Those totals that I think we saw, Smitty, in the regionals that were 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, 13. What did we see the other day? Who was it that was like going off at 13.5? Was that Tennessee and
I know the Texas. I think the Texas game Monday night was a higher one. It got up to higher.
Adjust everything down by about 2.5 runs this week, and the book should catch up to it. But if you're seeing a double-digit number hung on Friday and Saturday in these first games, definitely look a little bit to the under. I think that's something that could be tasty.
And I think, too, with that is, like you said, this is a double elimination tournament. These guys are probably going to still throw because, if anyone's played in, like, brackets like this, you don't want to lose that first game. You don't want to get that. Then you have to really come back and then you're like, okay, we can't lose one more. These teams are probably going to throw their aces game one. So, I mean, that's another thing. One thing real quick with Wake Forest, I have down in my notes. They hit 9 home runs the other day. 9. I mean, that's crazy. Good for them and everything. That ain't going to happen here. I mean, again, I'm not taking anything away from Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a powerhouse. They can hit the ball. They got a third baseman, first baseman that can mash the baseball right now. But again, that's not going to happen here. They got a great pitching staff. Keep an eye on those unders.
Yeah, TCU, the same thing. They bashed their way through the regional and even a little bit there at Lupton against Indiana State. They had guys hitting home runs, multiple home runs, that hadn't hit but a handful in the regular season. I do not expect that trend to continue for TCU. I'm not saying they're a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but they've gotten hot at the right time. They got a smooth trip, I think, to a place that the home seed was overvalued initially in the regional, and then they got lucky getting Indiana State there in Fort Worth. They've been playing on house money. I like Earl Roberts for whatever it's worth in this first matchup. But again, what TCU's been doing to get there, I don't think you can do in Omaha with the way their offense is set up at this time. You mentioned the day one and the importance of day one. And to your point there, I think, again, going back to some unders, you do have the ability to go to your bullpen and your better bullpen guys this first game, knowing that you've got the day off in between. You didn't have that luxury in the regional or the super regional for that matter. You knew if you used a guy on Friday, that you had to play another game, potentially an elimination game the next day. You don't have that worry. Managers, coaches will bring in heavy firepower game one because it's just so important to get to 1-0 in this first part of the College World Series.
Yeah, I want to jump on. Let's, we can maybe even start with that TCU. TCU's 11 straight wins. That Kleckler, I think, is the pitcher that threw the first game, threw an unbelievable game.
Freshman.
Yeah, pitched a really nice game there. But like you said, a team that got hot. I mean, they really did. If you really look at them, they were scoring. Like you said, they scored 12 against Arizona. Then they went into that against Arkansas. They scored 20, 12. And then they came back. Offense slowed down a little bit against Indiana State, 4 and 6. But Indiana State had really good pitching. But like you said, they had the Special Olympics there. It should have been in Indiana State. It got flipped and all that things. But here's the key with that team. And this goes maybe back to our under that I was looking at, and I crunched with some numbers here. This pitching staff, again, Arizona was starting to catch some fire at the end. They only scored 4. Arkansas, very good offense. They scored 5, and then in the next game, 4 against this team. Then Indiana State, they only scored 1 and 4. Indiana State didn't have the greatest hitting. They were more of a pitching team. But again, TCU has done a really nice job with their pitching staff over, the last couple of weeks here to limit some teams that were starting to catch fire, especially Arkansas a little bit here too. But again, I like that Oral Roberts team too, Ryan. So, do you want to go into that a little bit with Oral Roberts? I got some stuff on that. Okay, again, I'm going to throw this out. Ryan Fulmer, man, from my hometown, played Little League Baseball before he moved to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Ryan, this is the second time he's been there. He was there as a player at Oklahoma State. He was a catcher, and now as a coach. I really like this team. This is a team to our audience that, man, they had 21 wins or 22 wins in a row. And they had Oregon they had Oregon beat. It was 8-0 Friday night. And then they let it slip. And I think the environment at Oregon just kind of got to them. And they let that game slip away 9-8. Now, here's the thing why I like this team a little bit. You got the outfield. You got Quinn, Cox, Hogan. Those guys can mash, man. Those guys, and they go 2, 3, 4 in the lineup. They can really hit the ball. They have a very good pitching staff. The biggest thing, their arms were a little – Oregon could hit the ball. I will give them that. And I think the environment did get to these guys a little bit on that. They have a great closer, Cade Denton, that just threw Friday night and came in Saturday. Didn't pitch Sunday because, again, they used them. But like Ryan said earlier, I think, you can maybe kind of now use this guy, and if you can get a win. This is one that, again, I like TCU. Like I said, they've won 11 in a row. But this is one that if you want to play a dog, this is a good dog. I'll take Oral Roberts maybe.
I think Oral Roberts is still undervalued in the markets. You're going to love our discussion with Jeff Haxton about the RPI. And the RPI is flawed. And Oral Roberts should never have been a 4 seed. They were always 2-seed ability, 2-seed caliber. They proved that in the tournament. And they're still undervalued at plus 3,000 for my money. Now, I'm not saying just run out and bet the house on a future on them, but they're not that big of a dog. There's not that big of a gap between the talent sitting there in Tulsa and the talent there in Fort Worth. I really don't consider them underdogs in this game. Just me. And I like the way they scored. They scored without having to hit a lot of home runs. They were able to move the ball around out there in Eugene. And I think it helped them being in that environment. That's the only West Coast team I think that has a great home field advantage right now is Oregon. And I think it helps them coming out of there just a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if you look at that, you're watching that, and I was really watching it because again, I know the Fulmer family, my family knows them. I wanted Ryan to win that, and I'm not saying that because again, my family knows the Fulmers. I think it's a very good team. I think he coached that team well. I think that, like you said, the environment got to them a little bit. I mean, Friday night for sure. If their bullpen can throw strikes, a little wild with that. I think the starters, again, I mean, if you look at the numbers of the starters, they have an unbelievable staff here. And I think, again, I think they can get them. I think that's a good one. I'm probably eyeing up with the money line. Probably take the run line. I don't even know what it is. I haven't looked at lines yet, but this would be a good run line play, maybe, if it's not crazy with the juice on Oral Roberts. And I did that the other night. I played the run line. I did that most of the series with them. I did the run line, and then I sprinkled a little bit on the money line with them.
Hey, let's go to this Florida-Virginia game. To me, the winner of this game will be playing in the finals of the College World Series in the best 2 of 3.
Yeah, this is where it's kind of you're matching it up. Duke got UVA Friday. Again, Geloff hit one right to the wall that was caught that could have won the game. And then UVA really came out and the bats really exploded on Saturday and Sunday. And again, they just have the arms. Again, we talk about this is pitching. Who has the arms? Well, Florida, like I said earlier in the show here, they have the arms. So does UVA, man. If you look at UVA, Parker, Early, and the guy, I think Edgington or something, the guy that threw Sunday in the game clinching against Duke, I think he had about 11 strikeouts. They have the starters too. They can really, I think, extend the game here too. And they can hit. The catcher's really good. Geloff, the third baseman, I I think he has like 23, 24 home runs on the year. They can mash. This first game, this is a great matchup for Friday night, UVA, Florida. It's going to be fantastic college baseball.
I can't wait to watch it. Saturday games. They'll start us off with Wake and Stanford. Stanford, as we said, the ball lost in the outfield to Texas. I think Stanford would have won, but what a horrible way to lose a game and an opportunity to go to Omaha. I felt bad for those kids last night. So we got Wake and Stanford, LSU and Tennessee in the nightcap. It's the Wake offense against pretty good, not great, but pretty good pitching by Stanford. But if Stanford has any advantage right now, it's that Wake hasn't been to the College World Series, I think, since the 50s, and Stanford is making their third trip in a row. They know how to handle what goes on in Omaha, and I think that is huge for a team.
Yeah, that was a tough one last night. I had Texas money line, so that was a hard one to watch. And you did feel bad for those kids. Those kids played, especially that right fielder. That right fielder is a star. And that was tough. It seemed like the shortstop was the only one that really saw the ball off the bat and was trying to point it out there. So moving on, Matthews, the pitcher for Stanford, 156 pitches the other night. What a bulldog that guy is. A lot of people, frown on that that kind of got a lot of heat. Did he go too long and everything like that? What a great changeup. That guy's changeup is unbelievable. And the thing, Ryan, I really like about Stanford, there's not a lot, but there's one thing I really like. I love the stirrups. I love the stirrups. The
old school look works. I'll give him credit for
that's
that.
That's like old school back when I played a little bit with the stirrups. So, is he going to be, he's going to probably have to come here and just throw an unbelievable game again. I don't think Stanford has enough pitching. What I've seen and what I've looked at and read about and really listened to some of the people I really trust in this college baseball industry, I just don't see it. Again, Wake Forest, they can hit. They have the pitching. Are they going to hit all these home runs? Probably not. They might hit some. If the wind's going in the right way.
Let's go back to your point about their pitching on Stanford. There's a reason why Matthews had to throw 156 pitches, even with the lead, and it's because they didn't trust any of their bullpen. Two things. They didn't trust the bullpen in a potential elimination setting to come in and close it out, and two, they knew they didn't have the depth that if they burned 2 to 3 innings worth of arms, that they'd have a chance the next day to try to come back and win like they did last night. That's a tell to me right there that even in that best 2 out of 3, they didn't feel confident with that bullpen. It's even more exacerbated, I think, in this four-team setting that we have right off the bat. I'm with you. I don't see them having the arms to get through. It would take some just unbelievable starting pitching performances, guys going 8 and 9 innings in the first two games for them to have a shot. And I don't see that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great point you just said. I don't see where Stanford, even just watching the games, I just don't see how Stanford has enough arms. And again, he's a bulldog, like I said. I mean, that guy is a gamer and he's fantastic. But they're just Wake Forest just is way too deep. And that's why they're the best. They were the number one seed and coming into this, and they're gonna show that. They'll win this game. First game.
I did have somebody on my show earlier today with a great line talking about how in this matchup we'll have to find out for sure if we can see the forest for the trees.
That's a good one.
We'll be here all week. Thank you very much. And then meanwhile, back at the SEC, LSU and Tennessee, Tony Vitello's team last year was the odds-on favorite. They were Wake Forest of last year. They didn't get there. They didn't even make it to Omaha. I think they played with a chip on their shoulder. They had to go on the road there at Hattiesburg. I spent a week in Hattiesburg one day, and they get out of there. LSU, it's kind of the same deal, but at home, pushed to the limit with a good Kentucky team. I love this. I think these are almost the same two teams that are playing each other right here. Slight edge LSU.
Yeah, that was, the thing. Like I said earlier, I have a future on Tennessee. And I like Tennessee. I like their coach. I like their swagger. A lot of people, they don't like their swagger a little bit. I do. Maybe that's just me. I kind of like people that have that and teams that have that. I thought Southern Miss, a very good team. And when they got that first one, I even jumped. I did run line like minus 120 on Sunday because you had Tanner Hall coming for Southern Miss that is just a really good arm. And I was like, man, I'm going to take a chance. I'm getting plus 1.5 with Southern Miss with their ace. And they got out 4-0 and it looked great. And then here comes the bats. And that's the big thing. And the big thing about Tennessee all year is, can they win away from Knoxville? And they really showed that. And then again, you saw what we said even last week on the show. Their arms just so deep. They just, they had enough the other, yesterday, with the game that got pushed back about 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever it is. And then you had Burns come in. Burns is throwing about 102 off, out of the bullpen. And that's just, that's devastating right there. They have so many arms. And that's, again, like we've said this whole show, who can have the arms? This team can have the arms to do this. LSU, Ryan, man, what a team. I mean, you got Paul Skeens is just lights out. I mean, transfer from Air Force into LSU. I mean, this guy's going to go number 1, number 2, probably number 2 to the Nats. Good possibility in the draft here. And that lineup is just so devastating. You got Cruz that probably will go number 1 to my Pirates, which will be a nice pick. But you got Cruz, you got White, you got Morgan. Morgan hit 2 home runs the other day in a game. They just can match the ball, and Cruz has such a good eye. They weren't even pitching to Cruz, Kentucky, in that last game, and then they finally went to him, and then he gapped one and had about a two out, I think, double, that brought 2 RBI double there late in that game. So their offense is so good. Floyd is their other pitcher. The thing with LSU, though, is how good their bullpen's going to be. Bullpen has improved a little bit, but that's been the iffy with them all year. Their top line starter, lights out. Floyd, not bad. Bullpen, question mark. That's the key.
Well, and, side away from that, I was going to look at the total, and this is one of the things, this is anecdotal because I don't have the numbers broken down in front of me. So we're going to make this anecdotal. But when you see conference teams match up in Omaha, I think these guys know each other so well that runs can be hard to come by. They know how to pitch to each other. They've seen each other. They've got the book. The pitchers know the hitters really well. I've seen that with Big 12 teams up in Omaha. And it just seems like it gets a little harder scoring. So I'm looking at that game, and I'm going to be looking to see what the total is. What are we looking at? And then again, that's going to be Saturday night. Look at your weather. Go back and look at your weather. Has it rained during the day? Did it rain earlier in the day? Did it clear out? Ball carries a little bit better at night there sometimes. Once the showers are gone and everything perks up and it actually feels kind of human, not humid, human. But that could be an interesting total game first week in LSU Tennessee. I might look if they're hanging anything 10.5 above. I might look to the under on that because again, both teams are going to do everything they can to get to 1-0. Nobody wants to be sitting there 0-1 taking on Stanford.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, it's just what teams right now, I think if you look at the pitching staff, you can look at offenses and go, wow, this team's great. But what I'm going to dive into and really what I'm going to look at is what team can really dominate on the mound and that can carry, especially if you lose then game one. Because if you lose game one, man, you're in trouble. But I mean, if you have enough arms, you can kind of do it. And Tennessee's the team because, like I said on last Thursday's show, when they played Clemson in the Super Regionals there, and Clemson, that went in the extra innings, they threw 2 or 3 guys. Clemson threw 10. That's the thing about Tennessee. They can really go. They can really go with the arms.
The only other thing on that side, how will Wake Forest handle adversity if they actually face it? That they have had such a smooth trip. And this is where we get into this psychological deal of when they expanded the tournament to 64 teams in 1999, Miami is the last team in 1999 to go in as the overall number 1 national seed and come out the national champion. That every year since then, when we've looked at a dominant, and sometimes, I mean, just head and shoulders, you thought, no way this team can lose. And they're not even getting to the finals or they're losing early on. Okay, why is that? What is the common thread? There is no common thread. It's too long. It goes too far back. But I think that becomes the question to me, the biggest question, what happens if Wake faces,
I lost you a little bit there, Ryan, but I'll jump in here. I got most of that, what you were saying.
Yeah.
And the thing with Wake Forest is they're on the harder side of the bracket. And again, I'm not trying to take it any way from the other side, but if you look at the other side, again, Florida, again, top-notch team, UVA, all these teams are. So I'm not trying to take anything away from any of these teams here. But if you look at the one side to the other side, I mean, you're looking at where Wake Forest is. They got LSU, Tennessee. I mean, those are right there. I mean, that's just fantastic baseball teams right there. And I'm not taking anything away from Stanford either. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. And I think everyone's, saying Wake Forest is going to come through this and be in it. I don't know. I mean, again, these are college kids. A lot can change. A lot can happen. You saw it last night with the fly ball because I'm on my couch watching it going, all right, we're going into extras and this plus money bet I have is going to be okay.
Yeah, we're fine. We're good.
And then you could tell those two were like, where? And I'm like, oh, no. And then, like I said, you felt horrible for the kids and everything.
Do you want to make a prediction tonight on the finals before we get out, or do you want to save it for Thursday night on the eve of the College World Series?
Oh, I don't care. I mean, what I would say right now is everybody likes playing dogs. And again, I have not looked at any lines yet for this. I have not. I have no clue. So, I mean, I'll even go through and kind of give you where I think where it will go here. And I don't know what I'm going to play yet. So follow my Twitter. I put it out on Smitty.
Yes,
I put it out on Notebook Wagering here. I think Will Roberts has a really good shot. Like I said earlier, I would look at the run line to see what the line is. And I would sprinkle a little bit. If the line is not crazy, plus the 1.5 or whatever it could be, I would take a chance. The other game in that Florida UVA, I mean, that is so tight. I mean, I have a future on Florida for my guy Q. I would love to see Florida, but man, if UVA's a dog, that's tough not to take them either in that. I think Wake Forest gets through okay. And again, You know me, I like dogs, and I have a future on Tennessee, and I know LSU with their top number one guy is just lights out, and their offense is okay. But I would be maybe looking at a run line with Tennessee in that one. That would be my early thoughts. So where would I go? Where do I think this could go? I think I'm going to go Florida. I'll go Florida. And I know I said maybe take UVA, but I'm just going to go now in my brain where I think this could go. And again, that doesn't change how I might gamble each day. I mean,
Right.
But if you had to say right now, Smitty, where are you taking this? I'd probably go Florida. And I am going to go against, I'm going to say LSU gets in the other side.
There you go. I'll give my predictions on Thursday when I see a few more things, but I think Q's going to be a happy man with the Florida Gators when it's all said and done. Great stuff, Smitty. You guys follow him on Twitter, follow Notebook Wagering, subscribe. Obviously, pay attention to what we do, Sharp Angle Syndicate. We have a place for you, and hopefully you will sign up and become a subscriber with the Sharp Angle Syndicate. We provide a lot of value. Entry level is just $30. Hey, you guys are going to waste $30 on bad fast food here in the next 24 to 48 hours. So at least give yourself a chance to win some money for fast food and be a part of what we do at Sharp Angle Syndicate. It's sharpanglesyndicate.com. For Smitty, I'm Ryan Hyatt. We'll see you guys soon, very,